Hello, and welcome to this video introduction on using AI to improve the operations of your veteran service organization. My name is Phil Cazella, and I'll be your guide through this high-level training. Quick background on me. I'm a veteran of the U.S. Navy. I hold degrees in both business and computer science. I've also served in multiple officer roles within the American Legion. Now, just to be clear, I make no claims of expertise on the materials in this training. I simply want to share my current understanding and provide some practical advice on how you can start using some very powerful tools within your team today. All right, enough about me. Let's get started. This training is broken up into 5 sections. By the end of the training, you can expect to have a better idea of what AI is, how to use AI to improve your general communications, and how to use AI to create flyers and other graphics, and where AI could help your adjutant and secretary right away. To begin, let's first explore what AI is and what it's not. The term artificial intelligence, or AI, is a very broad term, far more broad than most people realize. Since the early days of personal computing, the idea that a computer could decide to do something on its own has fascinated programmers, business owners, and Hollywood. The reality is, we expect computers to make decisions all the time. Take your email inbox, for instance. How do you think the email service determines if a message should go to your spam folder or not? When you plan a trip and you use an app like Google Maps or Waze to show you the best route, how does it figure out what's the best way to go to avoid that traffic? Or even more personal, when you say, "Hey Siri," or "Hey Google," and you tell your phone to set a timer, call someone, or send a text, how do you think it converted that speech into instructions? All of those are examples of machine learning and optimization algorithms, all of which are a subset, small part, of what is artificial intelligence. Now let's be real clear. AI does not think without being told to do so. It doesn't understand what it's like to be a person. It doesn't understand your organization's culture. It does not have loyalty or judgment or values. It simply guesses at the most likely next word or action to take in response to an input. But AI is evolving at an exponential rate, and the world is sitting at a point of inflection. A quick lesson in history here. In 1950, Alan Turing published The Computing Machinery and Intelligence, proposing a test to determine if a machine was a person or not. And if the observer couldn't distinguish between man and machine, well, that machine passes the Turing test, or imitation game as he called it, and was therefore considered to be thinking or possess intelligence. The term artificial intelligence actually wasn't even officially coined until 1956 by John McCarthy at a conference in Dartmouth. And it wasn't until December of 2022, when ChatGPT was first introduced to the public, that AI really took the stage. For the first time, anyone could have a conversation with a computer containing vast amounts of knowledge and information in a way that felt more like having a conversation with a person, not a computer. Within 2 months of being available, this new tool had over 100 million users, and the world as we knew it changed. In the very few years since, AI tools have gone from being this fun little toy to being embedded in almost every aspect of our lives. Now, I grew up on construction sites. My father owned a commercial air conditioning company, and I worked every summer in high school on one of his crews. And there was one guy, self-proclaimed Florida redneck, who only carried one tool, a pair of red metal shears. He used that thing like a hammer, a screwdriver, as well as a pair of shears, and even though it wasn't designed to do only one of those jobs. The point is, just because a tool can be used to do something doesn't mean you should use it that way. Sure, he could pound the corners of that ductwork and make it fit, but, the right hammer would have made it a lot easier and probably look a lot better. AI tools are the same way. There's lots of AI tools out there that are generic and do lots of things pretty good. And then there's AI tools that specialize and do a few things really good. In this training, we're only going to scratch the surface on some of the more generic AI tools like ChatGPT and Gemini. Think of these as the computer version of someone with a master's degree in English, not philosophy. If they excel at taking rough drafts and making them sound good or summarizing long documents to pull out just the important parts. It's not going to critique your intentions or argue with your direction. It'll just do what you ask. As I mentioned earlier, this training will focus on what's called generative pre-trained transformers, or GPTs as we usually hear it, such as ChatGPT or Gemini or Claude. To break that down a little bit, a GPT generates the next most likely word or phrase based on the information that it was provided or trained on. The transformer part's the technical bit that turns your text or image or voice into chunks that it can ingest that are called tokens. And in return, that GPT responds in a way that the user can understand. So what's the difference between them, you might ask? Well, for most users, not much. Honestly, they do the normal wordsmithing and language stuff really great. But if you use them a lot, you'll start to notice small little differences. More specialized set of AI tools are those that create graphics. Canva, for instance, has been around for a while, and it's great for creating flyers and other marketing materials. Most modern application tools now include AI features in their product to help create backgrounds and layouts that look great. They're trained on thousands and thousands of other marketing materials that people made and therefore can probably guess at what you're trying to do as well. Adobe makes products like Photoshop, which now includes AI tools to both generate and remove parts of a photo by simply drawing a line around them and clicking a button. Really cool, but Adobe products are not cheap. And there are a lot of online graphics creation tools like DALL-E from OpenAI, a play on the famous surrealist artist Salvador Dali, or Nano Banana, which is Google Gemini tool uses. The point here is that no one tool is, quote, the best, as each have their own places, strengths, and weaknesses. Of course, one of the most obvious considerations with any software is the cost. Most of these AI tools all have a free level where a user can explore their capabilities and use it a few times. If, however, you find that you want to use an AI more often or need to use it for larger documents, well, there's typically a subscription package to meet those needs. Most AI tools today cost around $15 to $25 a month for a basic subscription, which is more than sufficient for use at any Legion Post or other small not-for-profit organization. One thing to consider before you start playing with these AI tools is the type of information that you're going to provide it. Most small organizations have a formal privacy policy for internal administrative tasks, so you need to be aware of what you're sharing with an AI tool. Free tiers particularly often use the information provided by users to continue to train their AI. In general, avoid including any kind of sensitive personal data like names and email addresses or phone numbers. Don't upload any kind of financial record, and try to remove any personally identifiable information wherever possible. Most uses of AI, like those we're going to talk about in this course, are very generic and it won't be a problem. If you're concerned, consult your organization leadership as to what scenarios are or are not appropriate for use with AI. More on these boundaries in a little bit. To wrap up this first section, I want to highlight a key difference between something being AI-generated and something being AI-augmented. Okay? AI-generated content is usually very generic, as it was produced from little or no real input or instructions. Vague descriptions on what a user wants typically results in an overly impersonal output. Instead, use AI to augment or add to what you start. AI is great at refining text, adding clarity, rewording information for consistency. Use it to strengthen a message rather than create one. In the end, you want your communications to represent your organization, not a generic version of thousands of other organizations that the AI was trained on. Okay, enough of the background information. Let's get into actually doing something. First up, we're going to use AI to improve communications, specifically in written form. To tell an AI tool what to do, you use what's called a prompt. Think of the prompt as a set of instructions written in plain language that the AI will then use to guess what you want it to do. As I mentioned before, if you don't give it much context, the result will be very generic and probably won't be what you need. On the other hand, if you really describe the outcome, the AI can usually figure out the steps in between. Think of AI as like a new employee who doesn't know anything about your organization or what's been done in the past. All it knows is what you tell it. Let's assume you want AI to help you create a flyer for an upcoming Memorial Day celebration or ceremony. Which of the following prompts do you think would be more likely to result in something usable? Either A, make a flyer for a Memorial Day event, or B, draft a one-page flyer for our memorial celebration or ceremony, including the date and the time and the location. Keep the tone respectful and community-focused. Okay, time to play. For our first demonstration, I'm going to use ChatGPT, the free version, so you can follow along if you'd like. The first thing to do is to open a browser and navigate to chatgpt.com. If you'd like to follow along, pause the video, open a browser in another tab, go to chatgpt.com, and then come back and continue the video. All right, I'm going to switch mine now over to ChatGPT. Let's start off with something simple. Imagine you're writing an email to someone and you're having a hard time typing out something that sounds professional. It happens to me all the time. I start typing and the phrase or sentence just sounds off. Might have just something that I need some help with. So here in the text area, this is where we're going to have this conversation. I might type something like this. I might say, rewrite the following sentence to sound more, I don't even have to spell it right, which is amazing, professional. Okay. And then here's my sentence. We are having an event and would love your support. All right. We hit enter. Now, first of all, it cleaned up my spelling because it realized what I was trying to say and corrected that, made it sound correct. But what it didn't do is it didn't add a whole lot else other than what I told it. Yes, it cleaned up that sentence. Now let's try adding a little bit more information to it. All right, let's try and tell it a little bit more about this event. Let's say the event is a dinner fundraiser for the local Veterans Hall. Tickets are $35. There will be food, and let's see what else. There's going to be food and dancing. The event is on March 15, 2027. So give us a little bit more of the time there. And doors open at 4. Okay. Now let's see what it does. A little bit more polished version. I'm not going to drain it all here. I'll give you a second. You can read it. But the point is, now it's starting to sound pretty good. Lastly, let's have this AI expand on this even further, right? Let's invite some of the local city council, because it'd be great if they could join us as well. We need to send them an email. So let's say this. Let's say draft an email. Draft an email to the local city council from the commander of the, let's just use the American Legion. Local Legion Post, inviting them to this event. Remind them that supporting veterans, or close enough, veterans is very important to the community. Now, all these red squigglies doesn't sound very good. Just slap it in there. Nice. Here we go. Now we've got a nice invitation email. I can read through this, maybe update it if something's a little bit off. But overall, sounds pretty darn good. Now, could I have written the same thing, same email? Sure. But it would have taken probably a lot of iterations in at least an hour to make it sound pretty decent and check all my spelling before I could do it. In this case, what did it take me? A minute and a half? What's important to note is I didn't have to keep telling the AI more, to all of the details. I kept adding to it, right? We're having a conversation. It remembers the previous parts of that conversation. And if I want it to sound more friendly, I can tell it sound more friendly. If I want it to go do something else, we can do something else. I could even from here, now it knows about this event, I could do something like draft a version for the website. There you go. Cut and paste. Now I've got the same thing for the website. Maybe I want to do a Facebook post. Make a Facebook post version of this event. There you go. Short, sweet, to the point. Again, it knows the context. It knows the conversation, and I can continue to have that with it. Super fun. All right. So that was fun, but it took multiple chats initially to kind of get what I really wanted it to do. Here's a pattern that's really useful for prompting AI that helps me think through what I'm asking for to begin with. I'll start with telling AI what type of person would normally do this job. Next, I'll explain what the result should look like. What do I want it to do? And lastly, I'll provide the details and the context that the AI is going to need to customize that output. For me, the prompt pattern is pretty easy to remember. It usually gets the job done. Act as, do a thing, using the following information. Okay, time for you to do some experimenting on your own. If you don't already have ChatGPT open in another browser, now's a good time to do that. Go ahead and pause and open it up. One piece of communication that many organizations struggle with here is a formal press release. I didn't even realize that there was such a very specific format to these to begin with. There is a specific format, and the information, certain information is expected. And writing them, it can take a little while unless you're really good at doing that and you do it all the time. So great, let's use AI to help. Again, it's been trained on thousands of these in the past, so it knows the pattern. Here's how we're going to do it. We're going to start by gathering the details of the event or program or fundraiser, whatever it is that you would like this press release to know about. And we're going to try and get this out. We're going to learn more about putting this whole thing together. Then we're going to use ChatGPT or any AI tool with the following prompt. Here's the prompt. And notice it follows that same pattern, right? Act as a public affairs officer. Right there, it tells it the context, right? It says, who in the world am I supposed to be? Act as a public affairs officer at a local veteran service organization. Okay, now what does it know about veteran service organizations and how do they talk and what are those kinds of things? Great. And what do we want it to do? We want it to draft a press release using the following details, and then we give it the details. The location, the date, the time, the sponsor, whatever the details are. Go ahead and hit pause and try it out. Remember, you can have a conversation back and forth as long as you like with the AI, asking it to sound more formal or more personal. If you want to be silly, ask it to write it as if it was the Swedish chef from the Muppets or in the style of the current president. Don't worry, it won't judge, but it can be kind of fun. When you come back, we'll do another. Okay. I hope you gave that a shot and had some fun. Press releases and formal invitations are a great use for AI, but generating social media content happens probably more often than anything else that's going to go on in your hall. As we did before, think of an event or a message that you'd like to publish an article about from your organization's Facebook or Instagram account and give it a shot. In this exercise, you can include a photo or two with details, and the AI will look at those pictures and find out and add that as part of the input. Here's an example prompt, right? Act as a social media content creator, again, telling it the type of person that's doing this, for a local veteran service organization. Draft a short post that's appropriate for Facebook. Now, I'm going to pause right there. When we're telling it this kind of context, appropriate for Facebook, well, it knows it's not going to be crazy long. It's going to use patterns that get attention by users of Facebook because it's, again, trained and seen thousands of these things. All right. Using the following information, the attached image for reference, and either crop it for inclusion or create a new image to include in the article, right? And then you put the other details, you upload the image, and then you say go. Now, we're telling it to do a couple things and even maybe make a decision. Does it think this image is appropriate? Does it fit really well? Can it crop it? Can it just generate another image that might be patriotic if it's a 4th of July event or something like that? It's pretty neat what it comes up with. Pause the video again and give it a shot and then come back. Okay, next let's talk about using AI to edit or create images. Text is great, but sometimes you just need a graphic or image. Rather than scouring through the internet for that perfect background to use on your website, why not have AI just generate you something new just for you? In this section, we're going to be playing with a couple of different tools, but we're going to follow a similar pattern as we did before on the prompts. For creating images, I personally like to use Gemini by Google. I find it creates images better than some of the others, and that's what's working today. Tomorrow or while you're watching this video, there may be another one, a better one on the market. Yes, ChatGPT can generate images too, but for this training, let's try using Gemini, if only to experiment with a different AI tool. Pause the video, open another browser, navigate to gemini.google.com, and it should look kind of like this, and then come back and continue. Great. Now that you've got Gemini open, let's follow the same kind of prompt pattern. Remember, act as, do a thing with all of this information, right? This time we're going to tell the AI to be a graphic designer rather than a communications person. This tells the AI to do something visual rather than using text. For this prompt, I want Gemini to create a flyer for an upcoming bingo event at the local Legion post. And I'm going to give it details and some information about a theme and a few other things that will help make sure it gets what I want. Okay, here it is. We're going to act as a graphic designer creating a flyer. I've got the date, I've got the location, the theme for the bingo. We're going to call it hot rods and hot dogs, right? You can come up with whatever the theme of your night is. And we're going to include the following details. We're going to tell when it opens, how much the cards are, pizza and nachos and chips are going to also be available, and a silent auction. Okay. You can pause now and try a similar prompt on your own, or just continue here. I'm going to immediately show you what I did. That's totally up to you. Ta-da! Look at that. Here it is. One prompt. It's pretty darn good. That's what's interesting. The parts that it added that I didn't even tell it, like the address of the hall. It looked it up, or maybe it was part of it. It knew, because I told it was the Pleasanton Hall. It knew what it was. Or when the games begin. Sure, the bingo text looks a little goofy, but overall, I think it came out pretty great. You can try and do the same thing in ChatGPT. It might look totally different. It might look totally different if you just do it again and tell it, Gemini, make me a different version. It will come up with a whole different version for you. It's really, really cool. If you use AI to do this, make sure you proofread everything, okay? AI is getting better and better, but sometimes it still spells things a little weird in graphics. Now, earlier when I was spelling things wrong, that was with text. Text is totally different. It understands text and is replying in text, and it's cleaning it up. Here it's drawing a picture. So sometimes the text in there can be a little goofy. It's not the same. It's creating an image. Okay, here's another prompt that you might find useful for generating an image, maybe for social media or for your website or to promote events. Not a flyer, it's just a nice graphic. The prompt I used here, act as a graphic designer, create an image that the social media team at the local post can use to promote an upcoming Memorial Day event, right? Again, I'm telling it how it's going to be used, so that way it's got that context too. I tell it the date, and I tell it where, and I tell it when it's going to start. Lastly, I give it a little bit more detail. I said the image should be solemn and patriotic and honor those who paid the ultimate sacrifice for others. These are words, but it's clues to how to put the picture together. What else to include? What's going to be appropriate? What's not? From including those words. So it may sound silly, like I'm being verbose, but it's important. It helps add to it. All right, let's see what it did. This is what I put in, and this is what I got back. Pretty nice, right? It's not perfect, but it was only one prompt. We call it a one shot. So I put it in there, and then this is what was returned. I could have also asked it just to do a background image without any text, and then added text on top of it using Photoshop or Canva or something else. That way I don't have to worry about the AI tool trying to do the text part. And if you've got a graphic artist in your organization, awesome. But if you don't, well, it can certainly make you look like you do. Okay. Next, let's round out this training by talking about a few more real-world examples of how AI can help your adjutant and secretary reclaim some of their precious time. Earlier in the training, as we looked using AI to generate text for things like formal invitations and press releases, but what about using AI for those day-to-day operations? Does your adjutant prefer to capture meeting minutes on paper? Mine does, and that's totally fine. The rest of the members still need to read it. Well, rather than manually typing them up, how about taking a picture of that handwritten notes, asking an AI like ChatGPT to read it, clean it up, and generate the meeting minutes? Yeah, it can do that. If you want it in a particular format, give it an example template to use, and it'll format it that way. How about this? Drafting an email to all members, reminding them of an upcoming event, or rather than retyping it all, just upload the flyer that you've already got made, since it already has all the details. It will read the flyer, look through that image, pull out all the details, and do it. Next, how about drafting an article for a newspaper? We looked at press releases, but what about an article for the newspaper? I don't know about you, but I don't have time that often to sit down and write all of that. I could find time to review one if it was already a draft ready to go, but starting it from scratch is a lot of work, right? I'll edit it, I'll review it, edit it a little bit, and then we're ready to go. Let AI come up with the initial draft of that press release or news article and photos. It'll package it all together. Okay, rolling back to the adjutant duties, what about taking a bunch of things that need to be addressed at the next meeting and writing up a formal agenda? Or drafting a letter from the commander to be sent out to past due memberships. The point is, have the AI do things to reduce the amount of time it takes to get them done. It's not doing everything for you, it's just doing the bulk work. Up to this point, we've provided all the context for the AI to use, and many times you have everything you need. Right? Other times, you might not know where to start. One trick I like to use is asking the AI tool to interview me, then draft whatever I need. Doing that does something interesting. It forces the AI to first figure out what are the most common bits of information necessary to accomplish the task, and it helps provide context for me within that job. Here's an example. If I said, act as the public affairs officer at the Post and ask me one question at a time to gather details on whatever that recent event is. Okay. Write an article to be published in the local newspaper. The story should have a fun and professional professional tone, showing just how much our post adds value to the community. Now, when I hit enter, it's not going to just immediately draft the article. It'll reply with some questions. Now, if I didn't tell it to ask me one question at a time, I might get a bunch of questions, and sometimes I'll do that. I'll copy and paste them over into Word. I'll answer each one of them, and then I'll copy and paste it back, and then I'll hit enter. Either way works, just depends on my mood. The result will be a draft that has everything it needs, sounds the way I want it, and of course uses proper grammar, which I'm pretty terrible at. Okay. Another thing you can do is have AI write a prompt for you to use in another tool. Wrap your head around that for a second. We're going to use AI to make a prompt for another AI, right? I find that writing a good prompt to generate a graphic, particularly, is harder than it sounds. I'll start with something like ChatGPT, have a conversation about the graphic or the flyer or the purpose or whatever, and then I'll ask Chat to make me a prompt to use with Gemini. Remember, it's not judging me, or it doesn't care what I ask it to do, but if I combine these techniques with the previous interview me concept, now I can do something really cool. For instance, hey, I need a flyer for an upcoming event, maybe have a conversation, interview me one question at a time to gather details, and then write a prompt so I can cut and paste into Gemini to make a final image, right? That prompt is going to get generated, read, and if there's anything missing, it's going to say so. Consider a theme or specific color palette. You can even upload an image as an example to start with. Lots of things that you can do, and the AI will turn that into a nice text description for the graphic generating AI tool to use. All right, last bit, and this will be quick. I want to leave you with a challenge, a roadmap of sorts that you can use with your organization. I find that if I don't practice something right away, I tend to forget about it and I fall back into my old ways. So here's your 90-day challenge. Month 1. Over the next month, I want you to try out at least 3 AI tools using the prompts or concepts from this training. You can even try using the exact same prompts. I don't care. In one or more tool and compare the outputs. See what it does. Which one did you like more? Then try having a conversation with them to refine it by telling AI what you liked, what you didn't like. If you are using a paid subscription, you can tell the AI to remember the style and preferences of that chat for the future, for future conversations. There's a bit of dedicated memory for storing things like that. Makes it a little bit easier. All right, that's month 1. Month 2, the challenge here will be to use AI for something real in your organization. Draft at least one article for a local paper, or create at least one flyer for an event, or make a list of ways that AI could really help your post today. Yes, you can cheat and ask AI to make that list for you. Just describe your organization and ask it to generate a list of ideas. It's pretty cool. If there's some ideas you already have, well, ask it to expand on those and provide more details on how it could work. You'd be amazed at the conversation. Lastly, in month 3 of this 90-day challenge, I challenge you to standardize using AI for at least one purpose in your organization. Write it up as a procedure so others can follow. And again, you can use the AI to draft your procedure for you if you'd like. Okay, well, congratulations on making it all the way through this training. I hope you've helped you better understand what AI is, how it can be organized as a tool within your organization. I'll leave you with this, a few final thoughts. First, like any tool, using the right one can make things easier. Knowing which tool is right for the job comes with experimentation and practice. So don't be afraid to play around with lots of different tools to see what they can do. Second, and this is very important, is to always, and I mean always, keep a human in the loop to provide anytime you're providing public information, right? Public communications from your organization should always be reviewed by a human. Keep your organization safe from accidentally distributing misinformation. Make sure you proofread everything. AI is great and it can save you a lot of time, but it should never be delegated the authority to formally speak on your organization's behalf. Let AI tools draft and humans approve. Thank you very much for taking the time to go through this training. If you like what you've learned, please like and subscribe. Leave a comment below on what topics you'd like to see covered in the future. Thank you.